Hello everyone, my name is Sovereign, or Sov. I'm a low masters player with a ton of games on Qhira. Qhira is the queen of brawling. She is a melee assassin, and her ability to perform relies heavily on her ability to stay within that melee range. She excels in long sustained fights, flanking the backline, and getting kills. She can be the offlaner, or run with the 4-stack. We'll start this guide off with basic abilities, tips and tricks, talent build, basics, and then go into playstyle, 100-0 combo, and maybe a few other things. Qhira's Q ability is called Carnage. This ability sends out 4 damage tick marks on the way out and 1 tick mark on the way back. The closer range you are, the more of these tick marks you'll land. Qhira's W ability, called Blood Rage, causes consistent poison damage from your bleed stacks. Activating it does more damage and heals. Note the phrasing on your heals. You heal more for having 1 mark out on 5 people than 5 marks out on 1 person. You can use this especially at low health to get out of situations you otherwise couldn't. Qhira's E, Revolving Sweep, is incredibly versatile and able to be used as an escape, as a way to buy time for your other cooldowns, an engage, or as a kill secure. The spin also marks any opponent's hit. This means you can get out a lot of bleed stacks that will proc your W. It also means certain E talents will affect anyone hit by the spin as well. The correct amount of time to spin depends on the situation. Spinning for a long time is usually bad, as it provides your opponents a lot of counterplay, in the form of cleanses, opponents are in control of your position, and predictability. The longer you spin, the less options you have on when to reactivate your E. Before we move on from talking about Revolving Strike, I want to go over a lot of examples of little tips and tricks, quite how the ability works, and how you want to use it in coordination with your other abilities. I have a clip that highlights some mistakes. Here we start off with a 1v2, and the mistake number 1 is that I shouldn't be fighting at all, as there's nothing to be gained by fighting at this time. There's no soak to be gained, no split pressure happening on the map, and there's no chance to grab dragon. Thus, I should trade away to safety and live. The other mistake is because I spin for a long time, Right Wing knows exactly where I'm going to land and sends a Q there, damaging me to the point I can't get my healing abilities off. We can also note that if I started stepped after my E, I could have dodged the Q. You should get into the practice of dodging abilities sent to your landing zone, as certain abilities like a Malfurion root can be devastating. Another mistake is engaging with your E while your opponents can disrupt you. For instance, here I'm on the flank of the offlane and I begin with an E. Rhaegar immediately drops me with a cleanse into a bad spot that almost kills me. By using my E so early in the team fight, the enemy team can safely damage me and my kill potential is reduced. I should have started the fight off with a trait, AA, AA onto the Anduin, and using an E as a finisher or as an escape tool. However, here is an example where it is safe to start the fight off with an E, because I know Uther's cleanse is on cooldown. And so from out of vision, I engage with my E, and I'm allowed to spin a long time of 270 degrees because they can't punish me. This allows me to land my Q onto 2 targets, slowing the Zul'jin, which leads to a kill. But the most frequent spin you'll do is a spin between 90 and 180 degrees. This allows you to land your Q onto 2 targets, as exemplified here. The last important thing to know about revolving strikes, quoting directly from the tooltip, is attach your sword on the first enemy hero hit. Once attached, Qhira becomes immune. This has a ton of implications, from Qhira's E piercing through invulnerable targets, or not attaching to unstoppable targets. Qhira being unable to attach if she is rooted or stunned during the travel time of her revolving strikes, even if her E connects. Qhira will become unattached once she reactivates her E, or if Qhira trades somewhere else, or if her target becomes unstoppable or enters stasis. There's also a few niche cases where Qhira will become unattached to her target. For instance, if your target takes a Medivh portal, enters a Blaze Bunker, or if Anduin pulls Qhira or Garrosh ally tosses Qhira. Once she is unattached, she is no longer immune and can take damage. Having established this, let's now visit attachment in regards to blink abilities. Here, I attach to a Brightwing, and I wait for her to blink, and then I reactivate my E, securing the kill. While I'm attached, I follow blink abilities. Here is a clip where I'm attached to Zeratul, and I reactivate my E as he blinks. Since I'm no longer attached, Zeratul manages to blink to safety and I miss the kill.
As a final tip for revolving strikes, it has a long travel time and at max range it can be difficult to land. To prevent that, try getting in close whenever possible with either a trait, slowing them with a Q, or walking up to them. Here, we can see me walk as close as I possibly can to KT in between tower shots. My E has almost no travel time, securing me the kill. And if I missed my E or if the travel time took too long, I would have died. That wraps up the main ideas of what you want to know for revolving strikes. Now, let's move on to Qhira's trait.
Qhira's trait, Grappling Hook, is her engage and her escape. A few things to note, that it's longer on walls than on enemy heroes. You can abuse this fact slightly to just get a bit farther away when you need it. Qhira's Q, E, and D all lock her into an animation. The longer you send out your trait, the longer you are locked in this animation. So sometimes, small traits are best to get you out of a bad situation. You can trait while spinning, and that can provide you with some serious range on your escape. Additionally, the trait does 2 procs of damage, and it is sometimes necessary to use to confirm a kill. Talents! A disclaimer, I believe I have the best Qhira build. That being said, this is just my opinion, and others have somehow found success with other builds. I'm not sure how. I will go into depth into each of the talents and explain my arguments for why I believe these are the best choices. My talent choices all have a lot in common. They are the talents that provide the most consistency and in general, the most impact. For level 1, my pick is always maximum effort. This talent does 3 very important things. 1, it provides a slow. This allows you to stay on your target, land your important skill shots, and weave in extra auto attacks. 2, the critical hit proc provides an extra bleed stack, thus adding more bleed damage and slightly increasing the amount your blood rage will heal you. 3, it increases your Q damage output by at least 72%. Maximum effort consistently provides value and has great synergy with later talents. Fatal Wounds. This talent has the potential to do nothing. When fighting against a full hero, you get no increased damage, and you won't notice the quest rewards until 4 seconds after you stop fighting an enemy hero. When this talent works, it can be strong, but it's not consistent. And the quest reward is equivalent to using maximum effort to slow your opponent and landing 1 more AA, resetting the Blood Rage's bleed duration. Finishing Touch. This talent is also less consistent. Without a slow, you must commit more abilities to weave in auto attacks, and if your opponent is full health, you don't get the major bonus. Thus, I believe maximum effort is essential, and in fact, my Qhira playstyle is rendered useless without it. At level 4, the talent pick is Your Pain, My Gain. Gaining 30 armor makes Qhira quite tanky, and synergizes with her entire kit as well as this build. Qhira already has a lot of self-sustain, and adding 30 armor on top of that just allows her to survive until her next self-sustain ability. Upstage. This talent does nothing in the 1v1, which is where Qhira often finds herself, and while somewhat useful in teamfights, this cannot compete with the synergy of having 30 armor in Qhira's kit. Ensnaring Swing. This talent is very strong, but can only be picked in correct situations, with a couple of boxes that need to be checked. 1, most importantly, you don't need the extra survivability from the armor, and 2, you can spin for an extended duration safely. In example, they can't reposition you into a bad spot, punishing your landing zone, and have few cleanses. At level 7, we pick the Thirst, an amazing talent that provides extra self-sustain and extra damage. This is the only talent on this tier that provides extra damage, and is the talent with the most consistent healing in teamfights. Qhira can often find herself in a situation with no bleed stacks out, and too little health to be able to get any. This talent resolves that situation by allowing you to heal while simultaneously putting out bleed stacks. Immediately pressing W after a Q, and you'll find yourself with enough health to keep fighting. This talent is a bit lackluster without maximum effort at level 1, but that's why we go maximum effort at level 1. Healmonger. The healing from this talent is absolutely insane, but it has 3 shortcomings. 1, it's not consistent. If your opponent is full health, you don't get the extra heals. 2, if you have no bleed stacks out, you don't get any heals. And 3, it puts all of your eggs in one basket. If you're forced in a teamfight to use your W early or poorly, then you have no other way to heal yourself for 8 seconds. Siphoning Link. The non-passive version of this talent is laughably bad. The healing provided is much less than the other talents at this tier, It is over time instead of instant, or approximately instant, and it is on an ability with over twice the cooldown of the others. The passive of this ability is not bad, but it is less than the healing provided by the other two talents. The only thing this talent brings that the others don't is healing in a player versus environment situation. But if you want to be good versus the environment, don't pick Qhira. The pick at level 10 is Final Strike. This ultimate is incredibly versatile and can be used to shore up some of Qhira's weaknesses, namely wave clear, camp clear, poke, structure damage. It can be used on cooldown for the entire duration of the game. Given Qhira's ability to sustain in fights, even if the ultimate is on a 20-second cooldown at the start of a fight, she'll often get to use it at the end of a fight.
And I'm not kidding about using it on cooldown for wave clear. This ultimate has a short enough cooldown to where you can use it on wave clear multiple times before a fight will even happen. Clearing a wave faster allows you to rotate to your team faster, allowing you to confirm kills without dropping any experience. In this example here, even though a fight is just about to happen, we use our ultimate to fast clear the wave. This gets us to level 16 and allows me to join the fight sooner. Or in this case where the offlaner is dead, pushing our wave and some structure damage ensures we get the experience advantage.
Unrelenting Strikes. This ultimate was amazing when Gladiator's Medallion was in the game. Now, the ultimate is lackluster, as even a Lily slow can prevent you from landing the ult in a meaningful way. The ult requires respecting a lot of opposing counterplay and can only be used after the opposing abilities are on cooldown. In general, by the time I cast Unrelenting Strikes once, I've cast Final Strikes about 3 times. And while the level 20 upgrade is a serious upgrade, in my opinion, it's not even her best level 20 option. I pick this if I am the main tank of a team, but I often regret it even in those situations. As a note, if you do go this ultimate, you can W while channeling Unrelenting Strikes. Level 13, we go Chainsaw. This talent just synergizes heavily with our build. The more Qs we send out, the more slows, the more self-sustain, the more crit damage, auto attacks. Additionally, this talent also allows you to Q, auto attack, E, and then Q again after the E, auto attack, and provides just even more damage output. Pulsing Pain. This talent again is not consistent. You need to hit multiple opponents with your spin, and you need to spin for a long duration without getting punished. Both of these things happen seldomly. Even then, the damage doesn't even compete to the other two options on this tier. The Hunted is an amazing talent with great damage output. The only reason I don't pick this talent is because it competes with Chainsaw, which just provides so much synergy to the build, but I have picked it within this build before. At level 16, we pick above all else the consistent talent, Lingering Ailment. This talent provides a huge amount of kill potential. Whether in following up on the kill target or when you're flanking the backline, this talent says die and die quickly. The negative armor affects any opponents hit by the swing of revolving strikes, on occasion debuffing the entire enemy team. Furthermore, Lingering Ailment enables Qhira to 100 to 0 most characters. More on that later. Also important is this is the only talent on this tier that affects more than just revolving strike. It affects grappling hook as well. Hence, she now has 2 impactful abilities in the late game, making it less detrimental if she misses either one. As a last note, this talent increases Qhira's self-sustain, as it increases her Q damage, which increases her healing. Booming Kick, an incredibly strong talent, providing AoE CC and having the potential to set up a wombo combo. If you went Unrelenting Strikes, you set up your own wombo combo, especially after level 20, where you can single-handedly crowd control the enemy team for multiple seconds. I'll do a quick comparison of Booming Kick and Lingering Ailment, as this might be one of my most controversial talent picks. Considering the talents we've chosen so far, Q build and Final Strikes, on an isolated target, Lingering Ailment is incredibly impactful, and depending on the target, they can be one-shot by Qhira alone. In the same situation, Booming Kick provides only an extra 0.25 seconds of stun time. On a clumped group, Lingering Ailment can still debuff the entire enemy team, which is impactful as a follow-up, whereas Booming Kick in this situation would become a setup to a combo. Both are still good in this situation, but Lingering Ailment has more kill potential and is applicable in more situations. Swing Life Away. This talent again incentivizes a long swing time to receive maximum benefit, something I dislike due to the counterplay it provides your opponents. Otherwise, the 60 spell armor really enables Qhira to stay in the fight comfortably. But despite the power of both Booming Kick and Swing Life Away, they do nothing if you ever miss your E. Level 20. May it come to no surprise as the listener that I'm about to pick the consistent talent, Utility Belt. Only when this talent got buffed did I start to think that Qhira could hold her own in the late game, consistently. Her weakness of not being able to get in melee range in fights is almost entirely resolved with this talent pick. You can now start off every fight with trait. You can now take wild shots for the kill targets you wish to hit. Lucio, Vala, Hanzo. If you land it, it's an incredible engage and almost a guaranteed kill. If you miss, you get to try again in 2.5 seconds. You are no longer forced into holding your engage for a guaranteed hit, or risking your entire fight for a chance hit. And if you engage with your trait, and you don't like the fight, you can always E and then immediately trade out with the cooldown reset. Furthermore, do not doubt the synergy this talent holds with our level 16 talent, Lingering Ailment. Post 20, you can now also 100 to 0 most bruisers and some tanks. With the second trait added to the combo, you have an extra 3 seconds of anti-armor, as well as an extra 500 damage.
I have 2 clips here to show the effectiveness of the utility belt at level 20. Here, Aspen is out of position. I use my trait to get in. Unfortunately, I miss my E. Here, I realize May's still going for it. I hesitate for a bit, but my trait's already up cooldown, so I can go in again and verify the kill. And that all comes from utility belt. That mobility wouldn't have been possible otherwise. So this is our other clip. Here, Arthas kind of steps out pretty crazily, and I go to trait him, but he gets flipped, so I miss it. I land my E immediately off of the Aegis, and I finish off the kill with another trait. Right, the trait damage is also increased by the negative 25 armor of your E. Now here, right, I have my trait up. I'm ready to engage whenever again. And I trade on to Mal'Ganis, getting me closer, but I E onto Vala, and then auto, Q, and last hit was a trait, killing her. So you can see the amount of damage I've come in with Utility Belt, the effectiveness of the negative 25 armor, and the ability to start the fight with it, or get out more often, or just move around the map. Really effective talent, highly recommended.
Silent Killer. This is the reason to pick Unrelenting Strikes. If you land a good ultimate, it's game winning. Booming Kick is a must with this upgrade, as it stuns the enemy team long enough for you to silence them. This ult is still reliant on you being able to get into the fight with your E or trait. Unleashed Potential is not a consistent talent, but when it hits, it does hit. I have wiped entire enemy teams with this level 20 before. No Sanctuary. If enemies are in full health, this does do nothing, but when it procs, it is very impactful. The move speed is very nice on a melee assassin, and the increased damage on all abilities is great. As an added point, no Sanctuary adds almost as much damage to your final strikes as Unleashed Potential does, but it does this to all of your abilities. That's it for the talents. Now we're going to move on into some of the very basics. Clearing waves. Most waves should be able to be cleared with 2 Qs and a W, maybe a few AAs. In a vacuum, wave clear should take about from 8 to 10 seconds.
Qhira does the siege camp pretty easily, just a Q, W, and then you alternate auto attacks between the 2 siege camps, so your bleed stacks are always getting the max amount of value. To clear the Sapper camp, it's important your Q hits all of the minions at the same time. Thus, I take one step downward once I begin the camp, so that they all line up nicely like this. From then, I try to keep 5 bleed stacks onto each of the pumpkins by autoing them one at a time. With a bit of help from KTZ, the camp gets cleared out pretty quickly, from 18 seconds of spawn.
General playstyle. Qhira is picked anytime you think you're better than your opponents, and to bully the solo lane. I would also pick her as a tech against double support comps. Qhira has the potential to outplay and beat any solo laner in a 1v1. There are a lot of skill matchups, but she can beat Artanis, Twin Blade Varian, Samuro, and it all comes down to the use of your abilities and how much you know about what your opponent is looking to do. For instance, against Zul, you would want to save your E for their root. Against Sonya, you want to cancel her spin on the minion wave. Against Rexar, you might want to use your E as a gap closer. Most offlaners will lose in a straight up 1v1, so they will create pressure in other ways, by avoiding the fight, clearing the lane, doing camps. Qhira cannot do these things as well as they can, so she must force a fight or a PvP situation. In BoE, oftentimes the enemy will freeze your lane once you've cleared the enemy wave. You can rotate to create a 5v4 in the bot lane, or you can set up in a bush waiting for a rotation. These are the strengths of your character that you should be looking to create. Qhira can double soak if needed, but in general she is outperformed in this regard. If she can force a fight with the enemy double soaker, she can keep them in lane, or from being able to rotate in time. This strategy works well if you have someone like a Falstead who can cover the lane both offlaners are dropping soak on. Against certain characters like a diva, you have so much kill potential that if you play it right, you can outsoak them as they have to play extra safe and take longer rotations. But in general, Qhira shines on Brax's holdout, as she can survive ganks, hold a point against 1v2s, win the 1v1. And the enemy offlaner can't get away with freezing lanes, doing camps, or double soaking. Qhira's counters. Really, it's my ego, and the fact that I think I can kill everyone. But in actuality, everything is a skill matchup. The most annoying hero to play against is a great Lucio, as a good Lucio will boop your Q, denying your bleed stacks, your damage, and your self-sustain. Lucio can cleanse your E and make everyone faster, making your skill shots fairly difficult to land. Some people think Uther is one of the big main counters, but Uther is fairly easy to avoid as you have a lot more mobility than Uther, and his cooldowns are very easy to keep track of. In the solo lane with enough skill, you can beat any melee hero. Heroes that counter you are good Zagreus until 10. You cannot clear any of Zag's creeps. If she plays properly, you will get poked out by her summons and unable to heal off of Zag herself. The caveat being, if you ever land a trait on Zag away from her towers, then you have a free kill. But given Zag has artillery range and move speed buff, it's difficult to land and a 25-second cooldown. This gives you the hint of what Qhira relies on, her bleed stacks. Those are essential for her to self-sustain and to get stacks out and heal. Synergies. Qhira does well with a cleanse, with a healer who can keep her alive until her next self-sustain ability, or with an assassin who can take advantage of her CC and also keep up with your mobility. For instance, a Li Ming following up on your level 16 anti-armor stun is pretty much a free kill every time, as well as a healer with a cleanse can really empower you to get your abilities out and be impactful in the way you wish to be. Team fights. Qhira, if she can get in melee range, does great in team fights. In general, you're looking to land a solid Q on at least one target, but if possible, 2 targets. Weave in auto attacks for your armor and extra damage, and then use your E to either set up kills, dodge abilities, or disengage. W should be used as often as is sensible, to get the cooldown running again. You of course want bleed stacks out when you use it, and to at least be healing a little bit. If possible, if you can just walk into melee range and Q, this is best. Though usually this is accomplished through use of your trait. If you don't have to worry about CC, you trait, then Q, then AA, and you take the fight from there. If you are scared of CC, you trait, then immediately E, because as your point blank range, your E has no travel time and starts your spin almost instantaneously. Long sustained fights are usually best, but post 16 you can burst people down. Post 16 you should be looking for someone just ever so slightly alone who you can one-shot, flanks on the backline, or chunking down the front line.
The most important thing to fighting with Qhira is positioning, taking into account your cooldowns, and weaving in auto attacks for your 30 armor. Here, right, I go in, I get 20 armor, I get 30 armor, but I end up having to drop my armor. I'm starting losing all my health because of the armor. I've got no abilities. I get my W up, I hide in the bush, saving me from one auto attack. Then once my trait and Q are up, I go back in. I have another Q up and my W's up, but I got stun locked, right? And this is a fairly normal fight for Qhira, using my abilities in coordination with one another, trying to minimize the amount of damage I take while the abilities are on cooldown, and then re-engaging as soon as I have my abilities back again. Right, and here was a misplay because I should have autoed Diablo one single time, which would have maintained my 30 armor for an extra few seconds, and would have kept my health bar a lot healthier during that portion of the fight, and I wouldn't have actually ended up dying here had I done that. And I would have gotten my W off,
and then Diablo would have probably ended up dying, and things would have been better.
This next fight takes place over a large area, and it's hard to show everything that's happening, but I want you to pay special attention to my positioning and the threat it creates without even having to use any abilities. The Deathwing pinged the camp, and so I knew he was going to fight for it, and I, just by being here, end up distracting KT, Anduin, and a bit of Zul'jin,
leaving their front line of Johanna and Malthael alone. This allowed us to win the fight as our DPS wasn't pressured a lot, and their DPS was very pressured. I ended up doing a lot of damage here, managing to get a few more kills, right? You can watch out the clip. But another thing to note in this fight, you may notice I use my ultimate a lot at the start of the fight, because during the fight, if you go back and look through it, it would have been very difficult for me to find a time to spend the full 1 second to cast my ultimate, apart from when the fight started and when the fight ended, right? Those are the only times you really have time to cast your ultimate, which is why I highly recommend using it on wave clear, because at the start of the fight, it's not too bad if you don't have it up.
In a fight, you'll often mess up and not hit your abilities perfectly. For instance, here I poorly react to the light bomb, get hit, miss my Q, damage and healing, have to W and trait just to survive, and then over here, I'm gonna miss my ult, and a lot went wrong for me in this fight. But I wait until my abilities are coming back up, and then I can re-engage, and here I get dropped, but I reposition until my Q hits 2 people, W, end up confirming a kill, and I'm healthier than when I went back in the second time. Another example of things going wrong is getting immediately CC chain with absolutely no chance of doing anything. My healer saves me, and you immediately have to start going in, so you can start healing off of your abilities, your Q, and your W. Right? My health bar just staying healthy enough, and I have a bit of a panic trade away because I thought I was going to die. This clip provides some evidence to why I think Qhira is really good into double support. Here, I just walk straight up to Anduin and start hitting him. And for the entire duration of this clip, I'd like you to keep an eye on my health bar and how much space I'm creating that allows my team to freely cap this objective. Right? Through just my Q, W, and the invulnerability time from my E, I'm staying very healthy until I run out of mana. And now that I've run out of mana, it's actually a bit of a threat. But my healer comes in with a big Z, and my team starts trying to collapse on them. But again, I don't have mana, so I don't think we can confirm the kill. But we get the objective pushing into the lane.
Playing out of vision with Qhira, especially post level 16, is extremely beneficial. It allows you to land your skill shots with ease and verify kills. Here, I have the choice of going back in and trying for another kill, or leaving and staying safe. I decided to go in because I saw that my Hogger was trying to cap the dragon. Right? They collapse on us, but this means we get a free dragon cap, and now my only focus is trying to trade out as many kills or try to peel for Anduin. Unfortunately, I don't manage to save Anduin, but I do get the butcher kill, and I really should have gotten that Zag kill, but I misclicked my auto attack, and so Zag stays alive. Dragon will push though. Once you have level 16, you can start trading in aggressively to begin your fights. Here I trade in, E, marking the entire team there was negative 25, and we get a beautiful fight that unfortunately just leads into 1 kill, but that 1 kill while the boss is pushing is going to be very effective.
Here, Rexar engages in a bad 4v4 fight. I've got no health, but with a Q, a W, and an Uther heal, I'm back up to full. I'm just slowly poking Diablo down while staying safe. More Diablo damage, mistimed with the spell armor. Reposition out of the W, get flipped out of it anyways, Q through 2 people, and here I'm damaging both people, keeping my bleed stacks on both of them. I switch to Lunara because she's actually killable. We get the kill, and we catch up on all the experience we lost from the gank attempt.
Qhira's 100 to 0 combo depends on the mobility of who you are hitting. If they don't have mobility, it's trait, Q, AA, E, spin until your Q is back, Q, AA, and depending on the health bar of your opponent, you throw in an ult or not. Against mobility, like Tracer or Vala, it's trait, E, then Q, and AA when they're stunned. W is thrown in whenever in this combo. At 20, you throw in an extra trait after the E to reproc the anti-armor and for the extra 400 to 500 damage it provides. The combo in slow-mo is going to be a trait, auto, Q, auto, E, auto, Q, auto, trait, auto.
Here is our first example of the 100 to 0 combo on Qhira. Right now, we're waiting for the enemies to step up it too far, and we're looking at Tasser right now in case he casts a Q. He does. Trait, Q, E, auto, Q. And that's a 100% kill on Tastar.
Here is another example of the 100 to 0 combo. Right now I'm waiting to get level 16. I get it, I pick it immediately. It's a trait, auto, Q, auto, E, auto, Q. Full kill. Had my ult up too if I needed it.
Here's another one at level 20. Starts as a trait, Q, W, E, auto, trait, Q, and another kill. Here's another one that doesn't start with a trait first. Right, we start with a bit of a duel. I get an auto attack, start getting my armor, Q's out, land my E, and then send him into the wall, land another Q while the anti-armor's up, and then once my abilities are up, I trait first to get the damage proc, Q, W, and they're gone. First thing, we try to Q through as many minions as possible. We use a W, then we just start autoing the last minions. Against Sonya, you want to try to cancel the spin with your E, which I successfully managed to do. And now Sonya's self-sustain is a lot lower. You don't want to drop the globes, and I have a tap advantage. Right? Try to keep them dismounted, and again, I'm just hitting the wave. Falstad flew up to gank me. I managed to land my E. I get in a position to where I realize I can Q through both of them, and probably stay alive. Notice that Falstad's low, trade onto him, trying to get the kill, and I wouldn't have killed Sonya there, but the phase shift did come through, and I got 2 globals and a trade, and most of that top wave. Here's a clip of Qhira on Braxis. The important thing for Qhira is she is a beast on the point and should win that matchup against most players. Now, Sonya has done what they need to do, which is clear the wave. And given the decision between the wave and the point, given we're actually channeling objective, and I can potentially get a kill here, I've chosen to fight on the point rather than get the wave of soak. I wait until Sonya goes next to a wall so they can't dodge my ability. And unfortunately, I barely don't get the kill here, and I end up dropping most of that experience. But while Sonya's backing, I'm getting all of the objective and pushing that current wave into the towers. Right? I'm gonna fast forward a bit, and then Sonya comes back trying to fight point. I stay on the point long enough until we can guarantee it. Wait for the polymorph, and then once the polymorph is out, I E, and I trade away, and I've just gotten 100% of the objective very early on.
Here we get to see Qhira's wave clear. With 1 Q, W, and a few auto attacks, we get to clear the wave. And now an Imperius shows up and chooses to fight me. He makes a bad decision by fighting me inside my own wave, and he ends up taking too much damage from the minions. Now he has to constantly dodge my E, and I get a lot of free autos and damage in during this time. Let's watch that last part back with the slow-mo. Here we see the Imperius having to stutter step to try to dodge my E. During this time, I'm just getting free autos and holding off my E. I send out my Q here, locking myself into animation. As soon as that happens, Imperius goes to stun me, but I've already precast my E. If my E doesn't land there and I get stunned, it wouldn't go on cooldown, so I feel comfortable casting it in that situation. Here's a clip where we kind of have all of the lessons together. Trait, Q, auto, and we wait until Mephisto walks next to a wall, so he can't stutter step. I get my kill. Time to use my ult for wave clear. There's a gank, No abilities used until I can dodge CC. And now I try to line up my Q to hit 2 people at once. I use that for a full heal. My team has time to rotate. Stun combo. Muradin eventually dies. Takes a while though.
As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to ring that bell and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment about all of your Qhira questions. If you want Qhira coaching, just remember to reach out to me and subscribe and like and more things. I upload Qhira guides every single week, so if you want a second Qhira guide next week, just let me know in the comments below. Alrighty, bye-bye. Thanks for watching.